AskReddit by Islamic anime. Older women of Reddit. What is something young women are doing that puzzles you? Buccal fat removal surgery. They're gonna regret that shit till Mayo. The overdone lip injections. I can't wait for this trend to die. I'm 26. I went to high school with a girl who has lip fillers, and every time I see a picture of her, those damn lips are all I can look at. They look so goofy. Blasting pictures of their young children all over social media with 1,000 followers. My sister posted a pic of my new baby and tagged me in it. Started getting weird friend requests from people across the world out of nowhere. I hadn't had a friend request in 9 months. I had actually asked her not to post the pictures and she did anyway, so I never sent her a pic again. Wearing comfy shoes, like sneakers, to the club. I'm not mad at it, I'm mad my dumbass never did that, lol. Crying on the internet. I'm talking full-ons, not bubble crying. Maybe it's my childhood trauma talking, but I can't fathom having an awful thing happen to me and then whipping out my phone to tell my followers about it. Maybe BC I have no followers. I think there's also a massive difference between ending up in a situation where you become vulnerable and you don't hide it from others to see, or being in your room sad and deciding to start a stream showing your vulnerability. I think the first case can be a mature and healthy thing, not sure about the latter. Big, fluffy false eyelashes. I tried it once and it felt like caterpillars on my eyelids. They had to come off right away. I don't know how they stand it, but I admire their skill. Edit. Just wanna make it clear here, I'm not about shitting on the aesthetics of young people. You do you, my sweet children. It's just not for me. My generation laughed at Tammy Faye Baker's eyelashes. This generation aspires to them. It boggles me. Taking pictures of yourself all the time. Even as a younger person I can't imagine doing this. My niece takes pictures of herself crying to post online. I would never. Even in my most emo of days. Posting non-stop content and then caring so much about what strangers say about them online. As if life isn't difficult enough for women without finding new and unnecessary standards to hold yourself up to. It all seems like an exhausting, pointless and mentally draining exercise. Focusing on their social media appearance. The lighting, the posing, it's all for likes. Posting where they are, where they go. The complete transparency over their location floors me after being told not to tell people that stuff online. I worry that a lot of young people are too aware of their social media standing and appearance and aesthetic and are forgetting to find and love themselves for who they are. So, I teach high school math. My students have tracking apps so they can see exactly where their friends are at all times, and I think it's weird as hell. Someone was absent, so I asked where is Martha to nobody in particular. Well, her friend in class pulls out her phone and reply, oh. She should be here soon. She's in the 300 building bathroom. I find it incredibly creepy, but they have no issue with it. Passive aggressive roommate fights. The layers can get really impressive, but in a terrible way. A wrote B a note about dishes but C thought it was about them, so C wrote A note, then B came home and thought it was for her, so she texted the group chat and talk to people. Talk to people. This is the perfect time in your life to be practicing assertiveness and healthy conflict resolution. All this shitty note writing and vague group text chatting and bullshit is making whatever the problem is 1,000 times worse. Do you ever watch a show and scream at the young people to just go and talk to her in them? Because I do. Easily 90% of conflict in any drama show is just because one character won't just open up and talk to the other one. It's wild. I think this wouldn't happen in real life. Then I talk to my nieces and nephews, and it 100% does because people just won't talk to each other. It's ridiculous. I am bewildered by women who do not prioritize the ability to support themselves. A constant refrain from me for my kids. Them, Dad, why do I need to learn how to do this? Me, because someday I'll be dead. Van life. The whole van life is so glamorous. Look at me sipping my coffee sitting in the back of my van in front of the sunrise thing is way overrated and very, very fake. Van life or camper life can be fun and an adventure at times, yes, but it comes with a lot of work, expense and risk that people don't tell you about. My cousin and her BF lived the van life for about 2 years. Mind you, they live the life. They are not into social media at all. They live and breathe outdoor adventures like hiking, rock climbing, and rafting. She moved to Utah specifically for her degree in outdoor recreation and he does contract work climbing up huge radio towers for maintenance. They are the epitome of people who just love the free, outdoor, adventure life. But even they gave up the van life after 2 years. Their van had constant issues. It wasn't 4WD, so it actually limited some of their camping locations. It made it tough to leave their dog, which is an issue in national parks, and they had to spend a lot of money just to outfit it with a basic stove and sink. Ultimately they sold the van and bought a truck and a house and are much happier. They still adventure but not out of a van, and it's actually freed them up. I'm definitely not considered older woman yet, so Jay apologize as my view may not count, but one thing I've noticed since starting a new job and working with some 17-20-year-olds has given me a few yikes. One is the weird obsession with knowing where their partners is at all times. One girl threw a mini fit because her partner's Snapchat location wasn't on and she was scarily angry about it. And the weird glorification I've seen about being psycho is such a weird red flag. Amount of them boasting about borderline mentally abusive things or acts they do to their partners is fucking wild and frankly scares me a little. Truly, I knew a girl who heated up a fork on a stove and held it on her BFS on BC. He was playing video games. When I told her that was abusive as fuck, the other women we worked with took up for her, saying the guy should pay attention to her instead of playing games. As a DV survivor, it was very disturbing. My ex would abuse me for not putting every ounce of attention on him. I couldn't help but think, then does that mean you people would agree with my ex? They are so good at makeup. I don't know if it's because they have better products, the availability of tutorial videos, or both, but they all look amazing and we were walking around with orange faces and smudged eyeliner. Not gonna lie, I'm a little jealous. Edit. So many bitter people in these replies. Makeup is a hobby. It might not be one that you enjoy, but that doesn't invalidate it. We should respect and uplift all women and however they choose to express themselves, whether it's by wearing makeup and mini skirts or carhartts and axle grease. I had blue eyeshadow, blue eyeliner and blue mascara. I have blue eyes, so looked like something out of Dune. Not limited to women, but gender reveal parties. I already have to go to your baby shower, and now you want me to go to another party? Do I have to bring a gift? Not using barrier birth control is another. I wonder how much of that is the rise of IUDs and implants. The typical use effectiveness rate on those is so much higher than the pill that it could be a reasonable choice to not double up on protection with a long-term partner. For casual hookups though, I agree people should definitely be using a condom. I know STDs are very treatable nowadays, but still. I'm 33, so I don't consider myself old yet, but I've seen young girls living through Snapchat and other apps, vehemently photographing themselves and everything around them. To me, it seems as if they care more about how they portray themselves online towards others they don't even know, instead of enjoying the actual experiences. I teach a particular kind of acting which is about getting out of your head. The moment you catch yourself having an inner monologue or thinking about how you look, you get back out by looking at your scene partner and thinking, what are they doing? It takes practice, but eventually you can leave yourself alone. And X200B. I taught one group recently, and afterward this 16-year-old girl came up to me a bit teary-eyed. and said thank you. I think this was the very first time in my life I wasn't thinking about me. It made me both very touched and very sad. Edit. For those interested, it's Gonsalves Technique, https://www.gonsalvesmethod.com/, an offshoot of Meissner that focuses on getting you to see and react to everything honestly and instantly so you don't have a spare beat to be self-conscious. This book covers it in AMP. SR equals 8-1. Influencers and those who are influenced by them. It drives me crazy. So many of these influencers are just narcissistic idiots who really don't know anything, but if they are pretty and talk a good game, people follow them and believe in their brand. So much focus on body image, it's no wonder depression is spiking. Before I answer, what constitutes older? Older is 50 plus MO. But people are out here thinking 26 plus is old. Like what question mark? Botox in their early 20s. There's nothing there. What wrinkles are you trying to fix? I'm 35 and recently got Botox injections all around my head and neck to help with migraines. The injections aren't in places that are noticeable except the top of my forehead. Now when I try to raise my eyebrows, I'm shocked I just look mildly interested. I find it really amusing and keep saying shocking. It's a really odd feeling, and I think if it was anywhere around my mouth it would be a terrible sensation. Thought I'd share. I know a few 17-18 wild girls who have decided not to learn to drive or get licensed because their boyfriends always have cars, not to finish school because they don't enjoy it, and don't ever want to vote because that stuff's boring. They have these precious rights to be free, to be educated, to be heard, and they don't care. Regarding the car thing, we're in a semi-rural area with limited transport options. My sister-in-law is 25 and still doesn't have her license. It puts a serious strain on her relationship with my brother-in-law because she is so dependent on him. Following people on social media that just make them feel bad about themselves. Comparing yourself to a highly curated and AMP, filtered persona is so damaging to self-esteem. Putting up with bullshit you know isn't okay. We all do this, but as 40-something it's painful to watch young women continue to just stay in abusive or even just frustrating imbalanced relationships. Realize your worth, ladies, sooner than later. I once had a 20-something woman tell me it was better to be in a bad marriage than single. I wanted to cry for her. Honey, no it is not. Life becomes really long when you're married to someone you hate. Especially once any children you had are grown and gone. The way young women seem to worry so much about their genitals appearance. To the point of surgery on their labia and bleaching their anus. I blame porn, I suppose, but I hate that these young women feel so judged that they need to resort to this. I wanted to mention the labia surgery as well. I'm not old, I'm in my 20s, but I see these women call the labia their roast beef and act like it being a little flappy is the worst thing on earth, and they get it cut off. I always wonder if it's about their partners as well, if they think it's gross. My answer is that any man who sees a hairy flappy etc vagina and thinks it's gross isn't mature enough to be having sex. There seems to be a hype culture about being a stripper or selling pics of one's feet on the internet. 14-year-olds are discussing how to best get a sugar daddy. Weird. And scary. I kinda hate the claw-like nails that are popular right now. This is real small, and makes me feel real ancient, but pulling their bathing suits up their butt cracks. It just looks so uncomfortable to me, but you'll do you. I'll sit over in my full coverage, granny bathing suit that's probably ugly, but I'll be comfy. My sister ages over not being able to find a good selection of bikinis that adequately cover her ass, so she can totally relate to you lol. In her words, is not walking around with a fucking wedgie too much to ask? Tracking each other on their phones with apps. I am both weirded out about this because I am a very private person, but also see why it would be hugely beneficial from a safety perspective to have your close friends be able to find out where you are, Especially in your 20s when you're going on lots of dates, going out a lot. I ran around by myself a lot in my 20s and literally no one had any idea where I was. Looking back, that was pretty risky, but having anyone be able to track me would feel pretty uncomfortable, a boundary violation. Edit. I was specifically talking about when I've seen younger women share locations with friends, not romantic partners. I don't see people in my groups doing that, thankfully. I'm only mid-30s, but I work with young people, and one thing I'm super impressed with is how much more confident young women are around periods, menstrual talk. I especially notice this around access to sports. And I'm so pleased. They're so much more confident to just ask for what accommodations they require, information they need to know. I'm really glad the taboo is slowly shifting in this area. I don't understand why girls want to inflate their lips. Also, girls with pointy long fingernails who have babies. I remember having an auntie with long fingernails and I used to hate holding her hand when I was tiny.